Association of Stock Car Auto Racing. It was born almost 50 years ago in the States. Today, more than 2.5 million Americans attend NASCAR races every year, Bill Cannell.
Well, they certainly do. And, you know, let's go back to the days of Tim and Bonnie Block. And when Tim Block had a monkey, a live monkey named Jocko that rode in the actual race with him and kind of was his mascot. The days that they tied their doors shut with belts. You could take your belt off around your waist. That's what they would bolt the doors shut with. They'd go racing on the sandy beaches of Daytona and down A1A. That's what NASCAR was 50-odd years ago. Now here we are, some 23,000 miles away in sunny Australia.
We try to keep the monkeys out of them these days.
I can understand why, but there were drivers like Tim and Bonnie Flock, Louise Smith, the days that Banjo Matthews drove, Junior Johnson. What they do during the week, they hauled moonshine whiskey up through the mountain roads of the Carolinas. What they do with the cars on the weekend, they raced them NASCAR style by a founding forefather, God rest his soul, the late and great Bill France Sr. And his son today commands the USA. Over here in Australia, Bob Jane has the permission of the France family to fly the NASCAR colors.
And this is the race we've all been waiting for. Less than half a lap now remains for the start of the final heat of the NASCAR Championship Round 2 here at Eastern Creek this afternoon as John Faulkner went flying down the straight.
Faulkner's late out of the pits. Yep.
Faulkner is late out of the pits. There's half a lap to go. Faulkner's got to catch up to the tail of this field because they're going to start with or without him. There he is.
The green flag will come out this time.
Ian Campbell in the pits.
One of the most important things we've not spoken about today is spotters. And the best thing a spotter could do for any race team is get the best spot in the house. Just have a look above me at the moment. There is Dick Midgley. He is the owner and acting spotter for Jim Richards. That man may just give Jim an advantage by being able to see the whole Eastern Creek track and steering through any danger.
Pace car now about to pull off the track as it comes down the main straight. John Faulkner still looking for the rear of the field. I think he's found it.
Here he's coming up.
Here he comes now. He's just made it. Just made it. But Faulkner now right from the back of the pack.
Field bunches up. They begin to tighten up. Pace car goes behind the wall, hits down pit road. We're at the length of 2 football fields, 200 yards away from the start of the final 15 laps.
Crowd on its feet in the stands. The green flag waves. It's Jim Richards on the inside, Max Dumsney on the outside. Charlie O'Brien in the second row of the grid tries to force his way through. Can't do it. It's Dumsney into the lead.
And here comes Kim Jane right up through the pack, slides into the 5th spot. He'll take over 4th. Looks like he wants to gun up into the 3rd. Battle O'Brien. O'Brien has no room to get by these cars.
O'Brien now up into 2nd place. Dumsney falls back into 3rd. Kim Jane challenging him on the inside. It's Jim Richards in the lead. Meantime, John Faulkner is back in 20th position.
Kim Jane goes up into 3rd. He overtakes one of the cars in the left-hander. Now we'll watch through the back of the pack as the sun begins to blaze into the windows of these NASCARs. O'Brien is in the number 2 spot. The rest of the field, we see George Elliott coming through along with back there's Barry Graham. They've got to work their way up through that pack to get to the front.
Remember, the money, the glory, everything, the points is all resting on this 15-lap race. So it's winner take all.
What a shame it is that Faulkner had to start from the back. He's, I don't know exactly where he started, actually. I think he didn't start at the back. I think he started about halfway up the field. But we've certainly got a race in 2, and
O'Brien.
O'Brien's out and in on the inside. Yeah, more power.
Yep. To the inside, takes the number 1 spot. O'Brien's got the Thunderbird out front, but will he keep it there? There's a lot of them back in the pack who would like to see different. One of those guys is Ian Thomas. He's headed up into the top 5.
And remember that tiredness must enter into it. O'Brien has had 15 laps of the Oscar Championship in which to relax. Jim Richards is hot and sweaty straight out of the Oscar.
So switch those front 2. Richards is in 2nd. O'Brien leads. Dumsney's in 3rd. Back in 4th will be Barry Graham. 5th is Kim Jane. A great run for a damaged car aerodynamically. 6th is Ian Thomas. George Elliott's right there with him.
Oh, Charlie O'Brien is really wound up, isn't he? He's just working that big Ford Thunderbird.
Well, Charlie went out yesterday and just this morning and just rolled a couple of one set of tyres in. He didn't put any hard laps on them. Just got a new set ready. And I know they're on the car, and I think Midgley's done the same. Faulkner is in 10th position, and I think he'll probably be 8th or 7th when he comes around past the judge this time.
Well, they realize the big dollars are all lying ahead at the end of this event. A couple cars just coming through. There's the battle between Ian Thomas and George Elliott. They just come into the first left-hander. Meanwhile, O'Brien tries to pull away from Richards. I don't think he's going to do it.
Richards using all the track and trying to conserve the car as much as he possibly can in these opening stages. When he does make his move, he'll put a lot of pressure onto the tyres. When he does so, the move has to be perfect.
Yeah, Faulkner picked up 2 parts.
Oh, George Elliott off the track in the Optus car. What a shame.
Well, that'll make it 3. That will put Faulkner into 7th position this time round. At worst, he may even pick up Ian Thomas.
Looked like he got it off into the marbles, and of course, if we can see a replay, if we got it. However, when you get in them marbles, you're in deep trouble. But George Elliott is back into the event. He's pulled back on course and is back into the wars. That will drop him back to 7th. Ian Thomas moves up to 6th. Kim Jane is up to 5th. Barry Graham is your 4th place car.
And a huge dice, in fact, between Max Dumsney and Barry Graham, the 2 Valvoline teammates, as they come side by side here down the main straight.
And then 2 cars back is Faulkner, so he's got some trouble to get past these teammates, because they, as well as racing each other, they won't be going that hard to knock each other off the road, but they'll make it very hard for Faulkner to get through. Although I think he may have just picked one of them up.
He may just pass Ken Jane, I think. So he may have picked up one of those spots.
Jane, in fact, is in front again, is he not?
He is.
Yes.
Kim Jane has pulled up and passed one of the Valvoline cars,
yes.
And now Faulkner's going to have to work the other Valvoline.
Meantime, Charlie O'Brien and Jim Richards continue to work their way away from this pack, and that must be of huge concern to Faulkner.
And Jane, looks down the inside and there's a touch. And then Faulkner uses that to pick the both of them up. Faulkner will have a run at both of these guys down the straight this time.
That's a 3-car battle, gentlemen, for the 3rd spot. Unless we're wrong, but 3rd or 4th, that is the Kim Jane car, the Faulkner car, the Barry Graham car. And let's give Kim Jane a call. He backed out of the throttle, kept from spinning that other car. He could have spun him all over the lap.
Faulkner
Jane
got a
on
good
the
run
outside,
out of the corner.
looks for the way through, can't do it. Faulkner's now done it. He's now up into the 4th position.
And that's a great run through. He's got Barry Graham in front of him. I'm sure he'll get over the top of Barry Graham in 1 or 2 laps. Then he's got, I guess, 10 laps left and about 5 seconds in front of him to hook onto the front 2.
You want to hear a little interesting humor? Guess where Barry Graham's daughter's spending her honeymoon? Her and her new husband, who is a pilot.
Tell us, Bill.
Here at the racetrack. Amazing now to watch Dad run in a NASCAR event.
Well, I guess if you want to feel the earth move, this is the place to do it, isn't it?
Here goes a pass down the inside.
And the pass down the inside. And now it's John Faulkner. Just making it look so easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Faulkner just moved that car anywhere. Now remember, he's got that gearbox in that car. That's not a Jericho. But me and Alan Gray, I mean, it's a very tricky gearbox. It's not as good as a Jericho, but it's performing mighty well right now.
It certainly is. And once again, he used the superior speed that he's got over that S flip-flop on the back of the circuit. He used that speed to get a run at Barry Graham, who was all over coming into the corner.
6.1 seconds now separates John Faulkner from Jim Richards in front of him. And there's an open track within that 6 seconds. And as you can see there, the 2 leaders being balked a little bit by slower traffic as they come round the slow corner. Still Charlie O'Brien in the lead. Still Jim Richards stalking him manfully.
I want to know if Jim Richards has anything left for Charlie O'Brien. He'll have to show it in the next 5 or 6 laps, because we're going to be approaching in this 15 laps. The halfway is less than 3 laps away.
Well, Richards is going to be getting the word from Dick Midgley that Faulkner is now starting to close on them. As soon as he knows that, he knows he's got to get through O'Brien. Otherwise, it'll become a 3-car race, and it'll make it all that much more difficult.
I don't think Barry Graham, Kim Jane, Max Dumsney, or Ian Thomas have anything for the leader. Those front 3 guys will have to decide this thing amongst them, being O'Brien, Richards, and Faulkner.
See O'Brien then just adjusting the rear vision mirror. He wants to know exactly where Jim is all the time. These cars are pulling 8,000 RPM through the gears and then down the straight in 5th gear. And that's out of a 5.8 litre engine. It just goes to show how hard they can get them to work and hold together.
Jim Richards reels off a lap of 1 minute 4.9 seconds. John Faulkner 1 minute 4.3. So Faulkner pulled 0.6 of a second back from them on that lap.
That'll be just about the fastest time of the day, I would think.
True. O'Brien makes it look very easy through these corners. That wheel's not moving very much. But let's give O'Brien credit. He's a road racer. He's done well at surfers. He's won them.
Here's Richards' move. Here he goes. And he's done it.
Clean as a whistle. Yeah, clean as a whistle.
So Richards did have more. Dick Midgley knew it, and he just said, now's the time, make your move.
There's something wrong with Charlie's car, I think.
Well, he's not running like he was, that's for sure.
No, he came out of there offline, and he's in the down the center of the track. No, Charlie's got a problem.
Faulkner's going to catch him in a minute. Charlie O'Brien may be out of it.
I'd guess he's lost a gear. The way he came off that S at the back, I think he's lost a gear.
Still proceeding, still in the motor race, but certainly dropping back. Dropped back 2 seconds on that lap as they went past the start-finish line, and it all happened in the last 400, 500 metres of the racetrack.
But Charlie O'Brien not up to par at the moment. He led early. He won the first segment of the first 20 laps. Second 20 lapper went to the Dick Midgley car with Jim Richards on board. Now, what's going to happen? Looks like Jim Richards is trying for a clean sweep.
I'll bet money that Charlie's lost second gear. He'll be back in second gear for that section of the track where Jim is now. He came out of there and nothing happened. I think he's either he's broken second gear or can't select third. I'd go for broken second gear. That's not going to help on this track.
Jim Richards now knows that he's got a momentary advantage and has to make every possible capital he can out of that situation.
Well, it's tailor-made for Jim now because he's got that gap, and he would be one of the best guys in Australia to hold a gap, keep the car straight. However, Faulkner hasn't been told that the race hasn't finished, and I'm sure he'll be charging right to the end.
So it's a Pontiac, a Ford, an Oldsmobile, and an Oldsmobile. Here they are at the end of 8 laps. We're just over the halfway point. Richards leads. O'Brien is still second. Faulkner third. Barry Graham is in fourth. Kim Jane fifth. Sixth is Max Dumsney. Seventh is Ian Thomas. Eighth, Graham Smith. Ninth is the Meade car. In 10th is Freestone. 11th is George Elliott. 12th would be Adam Pay, and 13th would be Gene Cook with Stepanek 14. Gross is in the 15th spot. Goodman 16. Robinson 17. And Peter Galvis is in the 18th spot.
Faulkner now starting to close on O'Brien. The gap's less than 5 seconds. Faulkner lapping the 1 minute 6 seconds mark, however. O'Brien, however, doing 1 minute and 7 seconds.
Big difference between the two. Now there comes Faulkner up on O'Brien. Yeah. O'Brien, as Gracie says, has got problems. Looks like Faulkner's going to put a move on him. Let's see if he can do it. In through the infield, round up before he gets up into the S's. Before they get back to the start-finish line, we're working the 9th lap of 15.
Okay, Faulkner now right up on the tail of O'Brien.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with Charlie's car once he gets it into 4th gear. Where you find Faulkner, he'll either take him under brakes at the end of the straight on that sharp left-hander, or he'll out-accelerate him out of that tight corner because he's still got second, and I'm sure O'Brien doesn't have.
We've completed, they're showing 10 of 15 laps being complete on the board. O'Brien is holding off Faulkner. There's a considerable difference in second and third place prize money here at Eastern Creek, and O'Brien would like that second place money if he can't have the win. Jim Richards is there. Comes Faulkner up alongside.
He's waved him. Charlie's waved him past. That's smart. He knows he can't hold him, so he's waved him past.
And you can tell he waved him past because Faulkner has gone off and is hiding. Yes, hiding away from. Now we'll see if Kim Jane and the rest of them are going to go and indeed go by Charlie O'Brien before this one's over.
Well, Charlie's holding on well in front of Max Dumsney there too.
There he just comes down. They're coming back off the hill. They'll come down the long straightaway here. And Faulkner is just moving off. He has taken over the number 2 spot with O'Brien dropping to 3rd. And Barry Graham now is ready to go to work on O'Brien for the 3rd position.
5.5 seconds separates Jim Richards in the lead from John Faulkner in 2nd position. There are just 4.5 laps remaining.
And Charlie O'Brien, difficulty on that car, the Thunderbird. However, he's the only Ford left in the field at this moment. There's a Falcon out there with Gene Cook on board. A lot of Pontiac, Chevrolet, of course, the Chevy Lumina of George Elliott. Oldsmobile for Benzel Meade. That's an Oldsmobile for, no, that's a Chevrolet for Ian Thomas. And then an O's for Dunsney, plus the Pontiac for Kim Jane, the O's for Graham. Ford for O'Brien, then we got an O's and a Pontiac. Those are the way they stack up automobile and manufacturer-wise in this event.
As the watches click, we learn that Jim Richards has matched John Faulkner in lap times, both of them lapping in the 1 minute and 5 seconds bracket. So Richards seems to have the race very much under his control at this moment, taking the direction from the pits. You can see the radio antenna on top of the car, which says that he's in radio contact with Dick Mitchley all the way through this event. And he'll be told just what sort of a challenge is being thrown out behind him, and then we'll see whether Jim can respond to it.
Yeah, no, Jimmy's certainly in charge of this race now.
As Ian Campbell stated, we'd be pointed right above his head before the start of this race, and Dick Mitchley was right there calling the shots and trying to be the spotter, telling him if there was an accident ahead of him. But right now, Dick is just letting Jim drive the race of himself, or his own race, with then not any problems ahead of him. Just letting him know, hey, the power plant's there, bust it or go all the way.
Yeah. Actually, I can tell you exactly. Dick Mitchley will be saying, looking good, looking good. That means that you're clear and everything's looking fine.
Alan's heard that enough.
Yeah, I've heard that enough. Looking good.
Down the main straight again goes the race leader, Jim Richards.
And it's down to the wire on this Sunday afternoon at Eastern Creek. Richards the leader. Faulkner second, O'Brien is third. Barry Graham, though, chewing away on the rear deck lid for a number 3 position from Charlie O'Brien with an ailing race car. Max Dunsney back there in the 5th spot with Kim James 6th and Ian Thomas 7th. Those are your top 7 late in this NASCAR finale. And right now, Jim Richards is looking for a great day, both in Oscar and NASCAR. He may win this one, but he had nothing to hang his head over in that Oscar series. Richard, Faulkner, O'Brien, Graham. That's the way they stack up. Now's when they begin to hear all those noises inside the helmet.
Oh, yes, there's no question. Most of the noises come from inside the helmet anyway, I think, Bill.
I mean, how many times in the last 2 or 3 laps have you heard the ticks and the talks and the wrangles and the rattles?
And the gear change feels like it's all getting stiff, and yeah, the brake pedal seems to change, and the clutch seems to change.
I remember your first outing at Calder Park in NASCAR, and what a race that was. But down the wire, you just hit the throttle to come back at Surfers Paradise, and you had to be not only disappointed, but hearing every noise. And
there's the gap. John Faulkner back to Charlie O'Brien, and really O'Brien is really hanging in there, isn't it? If anything, he's opening a gap on Barry Graham back in 4th position.
Yeah, I think what's happened, Charlie's certainly got a problem with his motor car. I think he's lost a gear. Maybe his clutch is not working, something of that nature. But what you find is that if you work away at a problem in your car for a couple of laps, you figure out a way to drive it. You figure out to use different gears at different places, to use different parts of the track, and you come up with a compromised way to handle a motor car. He's probably going 2 or 3 seconds a lap faster now than he was when he first discovered he had a problem.
That's Barry Graham stalking Charlie O'Brien, but making no impression upon him at this time. And you've got to say that at the end of 55 hard laps around Eastern Creek, both the drivers and the cars have got to be getting very tired.
They're getting very tired, and they realize that in just 2 weeks from today, instead of 24, 25, we're looking at 30 NASCAR teams, white flag coming out to be at Calder Park in the Thunderdome for that big Christmas meeting. And yeah, they're tired. There's no doubt. With 1 lap to go, they're probably glad to see the white flag.
Absolutely, and Jim Richards is now on that white flag lap. John Faulkner is also. He's 2.3 seconds behind Richards. Charlie O'Brien is another 6.7 seconds in arrears. Then Barry Graham, then back Max Dunsney, the defending champion, then Kim Jane, then Ian Thomas, then Graham Smith, then George Elliott in the Optus car, then Denzel Meade, the man who established history this morning by taking pole position in the wet. In 10th position.
Has that been done any time in NASCAR history with wipers and wet tires on a NASCAR automobile, except in Australia. And it was done here yesterday.
One corner remaining now for Jim Richards.
And he's around it.
John Faulkner flings himself into the corner
right
as Richards comes out of it.
Yep.
So it'll be close. Jim Richards, the crowd stands in the stand. White flag in, checkered flag out. Jim Richards does it. He wins the Thunder at the Creek meeting for NASCAR. It's at Eastern Creek this afternoon.
Fireworks going off.
John Faulkner in 2nd position, just 1.57 seconds in arrears. Charlie O'Brien goes through in 3rd place, then Barry Graham.
Max Dunsney. Kim Jane will be next.
So, Billy Cannell, just a sensational afternoon's motor racing, hasn't it been?
A great day for the NASCARs at Eastern Creek, and this their first road race in Australia. A very successful day, a very successful outing. I think we're going to see more of this, more oval tracks. Alan, I think NASCAR is just before really getting off and running.
Well, don't forget our NASCAR races on the street circuit up in Queensland either. Yeah.
Well, Alan,
you gotta count those.
you've seen the Surfers Paradise Street Circuit. It's surrounded by concrete both sides. It's a much different proposition than this traditional Grand Prix track on which to run these cars.
Yes, it is. I'm quite sure that Bill France never ever thought that he'd see his cars running around a track like this in Australia.
No, you know, the Surfers is definitely a street race and a road race with a course that is so beautiful over there at Surfers, laid out along the beach, and now here at Eastern Creek. So now I would say it's on to some more of the ovals. You've got your 2 road races. Let's find the ovals, and in the 7 states of this. I hear Auckland, New Zealand is really gamed up for some NASCAR racing too.
Well, they do. They talk about a lot of things in New Zealand. There's no question about that. But there is a small oval being built in Sydney. It's quite big enough. There are some ovals in America that are no bigger.
Look at the fireworks. Beautiful, beautiful shot from the helicopter guys of the daytime aerial fire display that has brought to an end, a climactic end, this great racing of NASCAR here at Eastern Creek.
Well, where can you see the series going from here, Bill? I mean, could you see the thing going through Southeast Asia, for example?
Well, up
there's a lot of
Asia,
money in
Japan.
Indonesia, for example.
Yeah.
It's going there. Humpy Wheeler says we'll go to Russia one day. I believe it, and race the NASCAR. I do.
I hope there's nobody up there with a big 5-litre Moscovich.
Oh, boy. I tell you what, John and Alan, and can you believe it? Richard, spectacular day, Jim. Congratulations.